This week in 40K.
Welcome to This Week in 40K, the show that is neither grim nor dark. I am Colin, and with me, as always, is Billy the Kid. Billy?
Hello, how are you doing? Yes.
Good, how are
that
you?
Was one of my nicknames growing up.
I'm sure that's true.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there's a number of Billys, and if you're a kid, it seems like Billy the Kid is an appropriate thing to be called.
It never really took off, and for some reason it bothered me as a child, but hearing you say it just now, okay, cool. He was a cool kid.
Yeah. I saw that you were excited about the new intro.
So excited for being turned into a cartoon. Honestly, a not insignificant portion of my excitement for doing this show was the opportunity to be turned into a cartoon.
Okay.
Yeah, very excited.
For those that are listening to the podcast, we have a new logo.
Mm-hmm.
And it has Cartoon Colin and Cartoon Billy at a table.
And it's sweet. And it'll be turned into merch shortly. And I will be wearing that merch and drinking from that merch as soon as that merch exists.
And what's great about you is I know that I'll sell at least 2 because I know that your mom will buy it as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Probably one for my father as well. And if I can convince my wife, maybe sister, her family, there might be just a whole host of Heilmans and Petersons wearing this.
All right. And that was our morning flex from Billy about how loving and supportive his family is.
I know. I'm just a total asshole about such things.
Yeah, it's really not okay. It's actually fine.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, anything new with you? What's going on with you this last week?
What is going on with me this last week? Not getting a lot of 40K in. I have some shroud runners that are taunting me sitting on a sprue, and I have created my plan to update all of the clowns that go in my Inari army because they were untouched in the data slate. And as we'll touch on later, Inari might actually, with that build, be a decent thing. So, hello, fictitiously famous. That's what's up with me. How about you?
Yeah, I played some 40K this weekend. That was fun. We did our first stream game that we've done in a while, which was we are working on the tech, and so I need to start doing the game so I can, try different things. And we had the gimbal going, and we had the player cam. I think we need a dice cam.
Yeah,
so we're gonna probably do that. But it was really fun to get back into streaming. Haven't done it in a long time. Chuck and I both played badly on the stream, which was pretty fun. It was just like we had just played a game of 40K that was really interesting, and then for our second game we streamed, and it was fine, but it was not. Both of us were like, at the beginning of the game, I was doing everything out of order. I'm like, oh, now that I'm done, now that I've shot at you a few times, we should go back and do my psychic phase. Like it was that sort of game. And that's not great for a stream, but I think that there was some amount of just some nerves and some comfort from not having streamed in a long time, streamed for 40K in a long time. And also the game didn't go well for Chuck in particular. And he was trying really hard not to be frustrated about that because we wanted to have a really epic blowout for our epic battle. So it was interesting. It was good. We also played Gene Stealer Cult versus Zinch Demons, which Gene Stealer Cult's become my like kind of vanity army. Like it's like when I played Magic the Gathering, I had my tournament deck, and then I had my giant deck of all the Elder Dragons and all the dual lands. Like I had the thing that was what I liked fooling around with. Gene Stealer Cult has become one of my fooling around with army. It's super fun, but I'm not able to play it. If it is good enough to beat everybody, I am not good enough to make that happen, is what I have discovered so far.
That's fair. And I think as we discussed in our data slate show, it doesn't appear to be good enough to beat everybody and then got ignored. So it's them, not you.
It's true. Hey, we have some people saying good morning to us. Oh, that's where they're fictiously famous. Okay.
Yes.
I was wondering. All right. And there's someone named Zweischneid who is a new member. Thank you.
That's Sebastian from the Discord.
What's that?
Sebastian from the Discord.
Oh, okay.
And
it reminds me of the Zweihander.
Yes. Zwei is 2.
Yes.
And I'm not sure what Schneid is. I think it's nose.
Okay.
So but I'm pretty sure I'm wrong on that too.
But the Zweihander is simply the two-handed sword, and it's huge.
It is. Yes, because you need two hands to swing.
Unnecessarily big. Mm-hmm. All right. Let's move on to our top story.
Indeed.
Our top story.
Thank you, Ed McMahon. So our top story isn't the data slate, because we did this week in data slate last Thursday, and you can listen to it and you can see it. And we both shared a bunch of thoughts, and I don't have additional thoughts about the data slate. I think we covered it. But our top story is actually about Ben Jurek. Ben is someone I met 6 years ago when I started coming back to competitive 40K. He's a genuinely good human, and he is a diehard orc player. And what I want to talk about as our top story is that the person matters. That's the top story. So what I mean by that is, in 40K analysis, in the data, in the reviews of tournaments, in how people talk about it, we all have a tendency to talk about the list first. Mm-hmm. In this idea that 40K is somehow some large, complicated rock, paper, scissors, lizard, Spock game, right? Some sort of where all you have to do is create the right list and you get to win a tournament. Mm-hmm. There's a subconscious leaning towards that in the way that people talk about, and I don't mean everyone, but the majority. That's the way that they talk about 40K. And when I talk about how Alex McDougall is the best Tyranid player in the world for my money, it's not because Alex is the best player in the world. Right. It is, though, that Alex has done the work to understand Tyranids. Alex never leaves them, and he plays tons of reps, and all for TTS in person. He does an incredible amount of work to make sure that he's the best Tyranid player. And the advantages that gives him is that when he goes to a table, he's done the reps, mm-hmm. and he's seen the angles, and he's seen the outcome, and he knows what's required of him in each game. And so when he plays against the bad matchup, he might be more experienced at the bad matchup than the other person is. And we don't think about that enough, in my opinion. And Ben is a wonderful example of this. If you had said to me, what are the Vegas odds that Orks win SoCal? I would have given it pretty distant odds, because mm-hmm. the Orks don't have the best secondaries. They don't have the best rules. They don't have the best codex. They are simply not an S tier army, no matter whether they won SoCal or not. They're just not. But Ben won anyways. And I think that Ben won anyways because Ben is a really good player who has done that work, similar to Alex. Ben has done the work. He's played a ton of Orks. He's seen the matchups. He understands what's going to happen. And I got to be honest too, guys, in every tournament win, especially a 6-round, many, many hundreds of people tournament, in every tournament win, there's also a little bit of luck. There just is. Like maybe, and I'm not saying Ben had luck. I don't know. I haven't talked to Ben. I will talk to Ben. I like him. I just have not talked to him yet. There's a little bit of luck in the form of maybe you got the really bad matchup for Orks, but you went first. Or maybe you had no answers for list XYZ and that person lost early, so you didn't have to play them. Like, there's a little bit of luck that might have helped here because Orks are an army that has matchups that are really rough to deal with. But Ben didn't even take secret tech that we haven't seen before. We'll talk about his list in a minute, but it's very straightforward. It is really the Goth list that is good that we've seen go 4-2 and 5-1 at tournaments as of recently. So I think that the player mattered a lot more than the list here. I really did. It says veteran Orks have a 40% win rate into other veteran players. Their win rate doubles that win rate drop. Their win rate drop doubles other armies. Anyways, so what Tim is saying is he's saying that Orks are good against new players, but not good against veteran players. Okay. Well, I looked at who Ben played, and he definitely played good players. Mm-hmm. So I think that this is a exercise in showing all of us that you can play the thing you want to play. You don't have to meta jump. You don't have to give up. You can make the thing that you want to make. In the current meta, you can make the thing you want to make performant. Mm-hmm. What do you think of that, Billy?
I agree with all of your points. That's one of those I agree, no notes. So nothing to change. What I'd like to expand on that last thought and then another place. And it's rare for that to be true, that you can just, whatever you like to play, there might be a specific build of that army you have to go with, but short of, again, mono GSC, mono guard, you can have really good results right now. And I think that
mono GSC is winning has won things as well in Australia and WTC.
Well, right, but actually that's a great example of the exact point that you're making. That's Eric Lathoris just being a really freaking good 40K player. So that was the one point, and that was the other thing. And then your clarification made me to my next point, is that we're really good. We're getting much better now than where we used to be with stats in terms of what armies are performing. We're still really struggling, I think, with player-based statistics and the impact that players have on those statistics. And given the focus on tournament wins and TWIP and overrepresentation and stuff, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that work has been done in terms of disaggregating the impact of army versus player. But I feel like, whatever the top coterie of 50 players worldwide play has an overemphasis on what ends up winning. If Art of War just decided, screw it, we are going to make sure that everyone thinks, pick your semi underperforming faction, the Thousand Suns, it needs to be nerfed, and they just only played Thousand Suns, I bet you the Thousand Suns win rate, the tournament wins, would jump up, and that wouldn't necessarily be representative of the actual power level of the army. And I think that's, to my mind, that's one of the more interesting next steps that our data exploration and how 40K works can accomplish.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point. Gangrel is saying, didn't Custodes win a tournament? Yeah. They won a 100-person tournament in Canada last weekend. We're at a time where the meta is actually pretty good, and where your experience with your list matters a lot. And I think that's wonderful. I think that's great. And you know what? Ben is a great person who loves Orks, and he deserves this. It is definitely his time. Now, Orks did also win last year, which is a funny thing to comment on, because last year at this time we were plagued in the Ork Buggy meta, and Ork Buggies won SoCal.
Wasn't that the one that went half of a turn or half? Yeah,
and just sorry, you're all shot. You're gone now.
Yeah, the greatest trick Sean Nate had ever pulled was getting tabled turn 1 and saving us all from Orks.
Right. Okay. Let's move on.
Actually, just one last thought on that.
Yeah, sure.
We've talked a little bit about the meta being quote unquote stale, which your mileage may vary, and I think there's still some truth to that, especially once we get into the lists. But what it does allow is exactly your point of, this is the time where your reps, where your practice, where your experience can really come to the fore, because you're getting so many opportunities to really figure out those last 5 to 10% of how a matchup works.
Right.
Because it's so set.
Right.
So just wanted to emphasize that.
You're absolutely right. And by the way, we're being reminded that Sean Naden did also go 5-1 with Orks.
Yes, he did.
He's also Sean Naden.
Yeah, that man would legitimately go 5-1 with a ham sandwich.
He came to Charity Hammer with no experience with Orks and wrecked people.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay, here we go.
What's new?
Tank is so chonk.
Tank is so chonk.
Tank is so chonk.
That's better than my attempt to brand it the nipple tank.
No.
Okay.
Do not put down the tank. Tank is so chonk.
I am so happy how excited Guard players are for their new miniatures.
Oh, yeah. And it's huge. Much excited.
Yes, I'm really curious to see a GW released. For people who don't know what we're talking about.
Oh, okay.
There is a new Guard tank, the Rogel Dorn. It's seemingly like
I'm going to call it the Michael Dorn.
Please, if you're a Star Trek fan. It seems to be sort of the
Maybe
Land
we just
Raider.
call it Mike. Maybe it just becomes Mike.
Mike?
Yeah.
Scott here calls it the Primaris Lehman Russ. I mean, I think that's fair.
That's a very fair take.
Yeah. It's like the Land Raider step up from a Predator size-wise, I think is sort of...
It looks bigger than a Land Raider to me. I'm really curious to see that.
Yeah, so big, giant new tank. Looks very World War II-y. Has all of the guns on top of it, and some of the rumors on some of those guns are frightening. But it has been a topic of much conversation in the Discord, and Colin, just glow about your big chunky boy.
Well, first of all, the shirt I'm wearing today,
yes,
says "Drive me closer. I want to hit them with my sword."
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Which is the oldest 40K meme that I have seen, which is the famous artwork of the commissar on the top of the Russ with his chain sword out.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, this drive me over there. I'll sort him.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah, we've seen the size comparison, but we don't know how accurate those size comparisons are, is what we were saying. Scott said, have you seen the size comparison? It's chonk. It is chonk. Yeah. I think it's really cool looking. I have a few friends that are completely that are just wildly unable to be pleased. They just can't be happy. And they don't like it. I have a few Guard players that don't like it because they just can't be happy. They say that, it doesn't look accurate. Come on.
What is accurate?
Yeah, like what? There's a Space Marine vehicle where a dude is literally shooting a giant gun next to the other dude's head. Like the go-kart. I can't remember what it's called. ATV?
Yeah, one of the
new kits that demonstrates. It's one of that's one of the kits that demonstrates that GW doesn't just buff rules based on what the new kits are. Because I have seen 0 of those in the wild. I know they were played a little bit because apothecaries could bring them back to life for a short time.
But that's the ATV. I thought you were talking about the souped up land speeders, the storm.
No. I was talking about the ATV because it's got a giant gun right above. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Anyways, it is the year. It is in the 41st century, and we're shooting projectile weapons at people up in this bitch, and we got a bunch of tanks with tank tracks on them. I think you guys just got to calm down about realism.
Yes.
Some tanks hover, other tanks have treads. Like, I'm just saying, it's a different sort of thing. My father has a degree in modern European history, which is a lot about war. And we were really into World War II in my family. We talked about it. It was like dinner time conversation. We all read books on it. My dad and I watched all the World War II movies. It was like a big thing for us. So when I started playing 40K, I picked Dark Angels because Space Marines came in the starter box, and I wanted green. Like, there was no additional thought. I wanted green. I did not want red or blue. So I certainly didn't want blue. Stupid Ultramarines. So boring. That's a callback to our Discord debate yesterday. So when it was time to pick a second army, it was the Basilisk and the Lieben Rust that got me. Like, the Guardsmen are cool, and I bought all the Medal of the Hollands because Russia World War II is a particularly cool look for me.
Okay.
And that's really what they are. I always think of Sean Connery on the deck of the Red October with the big fluffy jacket and the big fluffy hat, and there's literally that character exists in the Valhalla line. So Colonel Volensk, I think is his name. To try to pull back to the really old reference. So it's a love of mine. And I know that Hank is right there with me. Hank's actually a tank fetishist, is how he describes himself. He did a whole thing yesterday about where the rivets are on the tank models.
Yeah.
Which was really great. So I'm really into the look of the Imperial Guard Army, even though I think it's a little silly that they're not more sci-fi than they are. This tank, I think, is much cooler even than the Russ, which I like. It looks really great. It's very chonk. I don't know how hideable it is, but the rumors we're hearing is that it's T9, 2-up save, 17 wounds.
Right. Which so shouldn't be too hideable.
No, I feel like that's a thing that won't be hideable. It doesn't have 18 wounds. That's important.
Right.
Are those rumors true? Who knows? What else is new this week? The data slate, but we already talked about that.
Right. But just for anyone who hasn't, we have an hour and 20 minutes where Hank came and joined, talked about the data slate, all of our thoughts, broadly good, if a little boring for content creation. And then the other big thing is that all the Votan are up for pre-order this coming weekend. Prices in line with what you're going to pay for 40K stuff. But we are going to be able to see our new short lords sometime soon and see whether those preemptory nerfs were sufficient and see where Colin went, because there's no Colin right now, which is interesting to me. There he is back. Hi, how are you doing?
There was a Gusta, and he was at the door, and he was doing this, thump, 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 and so I had to go let him in. He is now going to bed on the chair behind me.
Yeah, Lilu knocks on the door into and out of my wife's office with a great degree of regularity. But yeah, no, so just Votan are coming. We have about 2 weeks, I would guess, until we start seeing actual real Votan lists and getting a sense of what that's going to be. And I'm honestly curious. I was scared beforehand. Now I'm curious.
I just hope that the inventory doesn't get shorted.
Oh, that's its own whole thing.
What? It was funny.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Only one cup of coffee. I see what you did there. That gets more than a pity laugh. That gets a good solid ha ha ha.
I suppose my joke. Never mind. I have several more dwarf puns prepared. No, that's okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was a short joke, and it worked well. Fine. Votan, whatever. Sure. I'm so distracted by guard, I just don't care. I do care, but like some of the models are really cool. I want to see the G.I. Joe tank in person, or the Ninja Turtle tank, whichever one you've seen it memed as.
And it's great in both. Whoever's doing those paint jobs,
it looks good in both. I want to see that in person. I don't really understand how big it is, and I think that matters a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of want it to be huge so that it's very easy to see. But yeah, I don't know what that thing's vibe is going to be at the table. I'm sure there's some in the wild. I just haven't seen them.
Yeah,
so yeah, Votan
are up. They should be out in the wild. Content creators got a content.
Should we move on to what's winning?
Let us, please.
Okay. Hey guys, we're a little ahead of schedule. So if you guys have questions, even if they're off-topic questions, this is a great time for them. Gangrel says, this is kind of my vibe. This is kind of what I didn't say. Votan medals are cool, but the rules are just too much. So I'm completely like meh on the faction now. Until we know how good they actually are, my enthusiasm about collecting them will be on hold. I don't want to build the Yunari army I'm playing is broken enough. I don't need to buy and collect another broken army at the moment. I've got my Yunari and I've got my Gene Stealer Cult, and I'm playing both of them. I've played a lot of Sisters recently. Like I'm playing stuff. I don't need to hobby up another crazy army. And like Scott Dielman just said, Dielman, like Scott just said, everything is winning. Right.
Yeah. Oh, and yeah, Fictitiously Famous references the Kansas City Open, which is coming soon. I forget exactly when, but it's like might even be this weekend.
I thought it was this weekend. Is it not?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm actually really curious if it's going to have the data slate. Does anyone know?
Oh man, it's Scott Deal, man. That's great.
Yes.
I feel like he should say things like, "I think I'll be able to deal with this." I think he should have a like a motto or a saying. Fictitiously Famous will be there. I don't know what his actual name is, so it's hard to say whether or not he'll. It's hard to follow his progress.
Yes,
and the data slate is live, which is great.
Okay, yeah. Well, then I'm truly excited for it because I want to see the extent to which the data slate impacts things.
Get bent, Leviathan Nids. Looking at the tournaments this weekend, the only army I'm mad at is Leviathan Nids.
I think that's a good transition.
All right, let's do it then.
What's winning?
All of the things.
Broadly.
All of the things. All right, we're going to start off by talking about the SoCal Open. The SoCal Open is, in fact, the first giant tournament I ever went to back in 2016 when they first did it. And I, in fact, went 5-1 and was ecstatic about it. And we ate a lot of tacos, and it was a great weekend. That's all. So SoCal Open had some crazy number of people.
181.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's on a different page than I'm looking at, so I appreciate that. Down in beautiful Southern California, and like we said before, it was in fact won by Ben Jurek, who we talked about, but we're going to tell you about Ben's list. It is a golf list. It has 2 kill rigs.
Okay.
It has gas. It has 3 units of 3 Squig Hog boys. They beat up heavy targets really well. That's a big advantage of them. Battle wagon to put some people in. He then has 1 unit of Megadons, which is probably in the battle wagon. Chuck actually hates the Megadons right here in the meta, but they still are showing up in the lists that are doing well. He's got 2 units of big units of commandos and 1 little one, all with the oh no, it looks like base. Oh, with the bomb squid, yeah. And then 3x10 Gretchen to do things. 2x10 Beast Snega boys, probably for the kid to go in the kill rigs. A Weird Boy and a War Boss on bike. This is it. This is the Mega Knobs are maybe a little bit different from what some people are running, but that is the list. That if you want to play Orks and you want to copy someone's list and have the best list, that's the list we've seen doing well, with no real variety beyond that. Second place was Matthew Green. He was playing the Leviathan, and his is the very cookie cutter with the 2 units of warriors that are big, 2 units of 9. He's got 2 harpies, 2 units of Zoanthropes, Tyrant Guard, Venomthropes, and then the normal 2 Neurothropes and a Winged Hive Tyrant. That's, again, pretty much what you're going to see if you ask what's winning for Leviathan, almost exactly. The third place, Scott LaFountain, which of course is French for Scott the Fountain, from Team Rocket. Oh man, do you think that they're going to blast off at the speed of light?
What's their? They want trouble.
Surrender now or prepare to fight, Jesse James.
Yeah, something about like they want trouble and it's surely double.
Yes, we want trouble and it'll surely double. Yes, and then of course Coffin. Okay, Scott LaFountain's list is hugely different because he doesn't have Harpies and he has Carnifexes instead. Good job, Scott LaFountain, though, on how you did. I've messed up the ranking here. There it is. Okay. Marshall Peterson, a great Necron player, went 4th with Necrons. Necrons are slowly falling, in my anecdotal opinion of reading tournament results to y'all. I think that people are figuring out how to build for them. But he did go 5-1 with the top 5-1 score. There's a lot of 5-1s at SoCal.
Yeah, it was down to
so
like
battle points matters a ton, and part of the advantage of playing Necrons is that they score points like crazy. By the way, Ben scored points like crazy. Ben Jurek with the Orks. He had several perfect scores with the Orks, so that's really great. Marshall likes to run it a little bit different. He likes to run it with 2 big units of Lich Guard, which are, of course, really hard to shift and move. So that gives you some board control with the Necrons that you don't have otherwise. He's got a bunch of Scorpex Destroyers in this list and some Locust Heavy Destroyers as well. And that's pretty much the list. Mm-hmm. That's what he does. So that's Marshall Peterson, who's been on a little bit of a tear recently. 5th place is Junior. Junior. I still don't know how to say your last name, Ben. Do you know how to say Junior's last name, Billy?
I just always say Aflave.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
And he took Blood Angels. The most significant thing about his list is he has a Whirlwind, probably for the Whirlwind plus combat strat.
Yeah.
And he's got 3 units of 8 Zengard, which, as someone who plays D cannons, makes me very, very salvatory. Mm-hmm. But 5-1 for him as well. Also 5-1 was Matthew Geyer's Chaos Demons, Jason Kavetsky's Imperial Knights, Kyle Perry's Harlequins, Mike McTire's Blood Angels, Jason Flanzer's Necrons, Sean Naden's Goths, similar list to Ben, Timothy Bauda, Leviathan, Chris Wallace's Tyranids, Jay Eggert's Emperor's Children, Stephen Unger's Chaos Demons, Andrew Whitehead's Harlequins, Alex Kostiok's Tau, Alan DeHessa's Black Legion, and that's it. So the top 16 people after the top 2 all went, or 15 people all went 5-1, which is just what happens when you have hundreds of people at a 6-round tournament.
Yeah.
So that's SoCal. Relatively surprised by Ben, but not at all surprised at the same time. He went 98, 100, 87, 99, 84, 100, for those that are wondering. Those are very good scores. I would have a really difficult time doing that with Ynnari, as an example, doing that level of scores.
Yes, that's because we don't get nice things in terms of secondaries.
Well, neither do Orks. So
no, actually, they have some good ones, and all of those Gretchen help with it. The get the good bits thing is apparently, if you lean into Gretchen, super doable. And then...
Okay.
Apparently, if you build for it, Orc secondaries are this. So you can do this with it. It has been explained to me by people who know Orcs far better than I, which is almost anyone who's ever played Orcs.
Okay. Let's see. What's next? Is it the Southampton Brawl?
No, it's the Malmo Wargaming Weekend 6.
In the Sweden.
Yes. For sure from Sweden.
Sweden, yes. Let's offend everyone. That should be the first start to our...
That was not me offending them. That was me doing my best Jamie Lee Curtis in Trading Places.
Oh, okay.
You don't... Trading Places?
No, of course I know Trading Places.
Yeah.
Should we talk about True Lies? That's the better Jamie Lee Curtis movie. I like Trading Places, but come on, True Lies.
I love True Lies. They're different vibes, but both of them would be high on my list of movies that people who have not seen them should just stop what they're doing and go see.
True Lies does a wonderful job of making fun of Arnold.
Yes.
After all the action movies he made. Okay, so the Malmo Wargaming Weekend 6 is a 82-person tournament in Sweden, and it was won by Andreas Holm, who had, in fact, High Fleet Leviathan. And his list is a Brood Lord, Tyrant Guard, Zoanthropes, Neurothrop, Hive Tyrant, 2 units of 9 Tyranid Warriors, 1 unit of 5 Gene Stealers, which is weird, 3 units of Venomthropes, 2 Biophores, and 2 Harpies. Other than the 5 Gene Stealers, really not a super different list, but we're continuing to see domination from Leviathan. I do think that the nerf is going to hit them really hard. So we'll see what happens next weekend as that kind of is a more accurate in the wild. I don't think very many of these tournaments are running the data slate that came out 2 days before the tournament.
No.
Second place is Pedro Chavez, who, of course, is the guy who plays the Mandalorian.
Sure.
It is. Mandalorian Season 3 trailer's up for those that need to be told that.
Oh, I needed to be told that.
Okay. It's actually Season 5, if you ask me, because in my opinion, the Book of Boba Fett is just Season 3 of Mandalorian.
Okay, what was Season 4?
Yeah, because Book of Boba Fett is not a good show until Mandalorian shows up.
But once Mando shows up, those are some sweet episodes.
And once Mando shows up, like the whole theme music and everything changes, and you just feel like you're watching Mandalorian,
which was fun because they were really.
Because I like Mandalorian.
Yeah,
you never could have told me that I would enjoy a show where the main character keeps his helmet on for the whole show.
It is surprising. Pedro Pascal is one of the most charismatic actors going, and just having him be behind that helmet is an interesting degree of difficulty they've given themselves.
Yeah, and they actually, if you listen to him interviewed, he actually talks about how subtle his body language is and how that's easier for people to recognize than big body language while he's in the suit.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting. Okay. Second place, as we said, is Pedro Pascal. No. Pedro Chavez. Pedro Chavez had a light Harlequin list, which another list that will be very affected by the data slate. He had a Shadow Seer and a Troop Master with a foot in the future, which is where the Troop Masters like to keep their foot. Then he has 6 units of 5 Harlequins, and they have Neurodisruptors and Fusion Pistols. It's shocking. Then he has 6 Starweavers. Big shout out to Pedro Chavez. Pedro has his Starweavers color-coded on his list and says what unit is in what color-coded Starweaver.
Good for him.
Yeah, that's great. Then in Detachment 2, he rocks an additional 3 troop units and an additional 3 Starweavers.
Yep.
So this is 9x9, which is kind of the meta for light Harlequins right now.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Everyone just
but we're still proud of you, Pedro.
They took their 9 Void Weavers. They removed that front gun.
He also went 5-0, just like the leader. But they did differential scoring, so it's a lot harder to have a tie on battle points. So he's quite a bit behind. He has 69 to Andreas's 82. Third place is Christopher Fielder with his High Fleet Leviathan. Woo. Sorry. Let's see. Neurothrope Tyrant, 1 big unit of Tyranid Warriors, Venom Thropes, Parasite. I love the Parasite. I'm surprised that it's not in more of these lists. The utility on the Parasite is crazy. Tyrant Guard, Tyrant, Neurothrope, Zonethropes, Gargoyles, Biovores, Exocrine. So a little bit different. No Harpies, only 1 unit of Warriors, 2 units of Zones. This list isn't as hit by the Leviathan change, but I have to think that it'll just be better to play it as another faction.
Warriors without the transhuman feel like they're going to be pretty squishy.
Yeah, you should still take 3s because they're still really good for their cost. But I'm with you.
And their synapse stuff, like they're good, but you're not going to have blocks of warriors.
I don't think you'll have 27 of them anymore.
Yeah.
And then fourth place, whose name I didn't see his name. Sorry, hold on. Johan Norman. I'm really enjoying these names.
Wait till we get to one of these later. The last one we're going to do.
So he has 3, 2, and 1 units of Helverins. This list is a Tyrannus list, and then he also has a 2 Knight Crusaders, and that's it. So 2 big knights and 6 little knights, rocking the 4th place finish, and then 5th place is Sebastian Larson with Emperor's Children. And I actually haven't looked at Sebastian's list yet, so we'll look at it together for the first time. Let's see here. Demon Prince with Wings, Dark Apostle, 2 units of Cultists, 3 units of 5 Noise Marines doing the thing where they're close combat, but they have the 1 Blastmaster. I love that. It's so good. 1 big unit of Terminators, as you'd expect. It's geared the way you'd expect. 2x5 Possessed, and then a Venom Crawler and Abaddon. So pretty standard Emperor's Children, but good job nonetheless to Sebastian Larson.
Mm-hmm.
Carl Abrahamson was, in fact, next on the list in 6th place. And I'm only saying that because he did it with Genestealer Cult.
Okay. Good for Carl.
with Accustomed to Turmoil, Alien Fury, Industrial Affinity, and War Convoy. So Industrial Affinity is the industrial weapons with no penalty. War Convoy is the vehicle, feel no pain. Accustomed to Turmoil and Alien Fury. One of those is advance and shoot without penalty. I don't know what the other one is. Maybe I'm wrong on that, actually.
They're allowed to take 4 things?
These are 4 1-pointers. There's 2 pointers, 3 pointers, and 4 pointers as well. But he took 4 1-pointers.
See, this is how little Gene Stealer Cult get played. I didn't know that was a thing that they could do.
Yeah,
that's a thing that should happen more.
My list also has 4 1-pointers right now. Oh no! I think the advance and shoot is in the data slate. They made it very clear that if you do have a rule that says that you remain stationary, that the dudes inside count as remaining stationary as well. So that lets Gene Stealer Cult, if you give them the advance trait, it lets all of their vehicles go be able to advance, and then all the guys inside shoot without penalty. Okay. Which is neat. Because the trucks go 12, so 12 plus D6 is really meaningful range.
Mm-hmm.
So,
can I change the topic super quickly for just like a good humaning thing?
I was going to tell him what it was, but go ahead.
Oh, okay. Really quickly. Scott Dielman, we're having a conversation about Mandalorian. That's fine. This comment, I'm wrong all the time. It helps me learn. Man, would the world be better if that was people's responses when they're wrong? It's a way to learn. It's a way to become right. Please be more like Scott. Thank you.
Everybody should be more like Scott. This list has a bunch of neophytes. This is an all close combat. This is an all dudes on foot list with no vehicle, only 1 truck. And then he's got 3x5 units of bikes and lots of neophytes and acolytes. So there you go. A little bit on the GSC list. It's hard to tell you exactly what that list does without seeing it played. I have one more tournament to talk about. We meant to tell you guys, as we get more and more tournaments, we're going to raise the cap for how many players you need for us to talk about you. 25-person tournaments are actually not that interesting anymore with how much data we're getting and how big the tournaments are. This week, we're cutting the line at 31 because there's 12 events and 6 of them have 31 or more people. So that's what we're doing. And we will keep that going. I just closed the window that I needed in order to talk about the Southampton Brawl.
Mm-hmm. Where do you think that was held?
I don't know. Ireland?
Oh, I wanted you to say Southampton.
Well, that was the obvious answer.
Yeah.
And further annoying me that I'm not going to be able to go get Best Yunari because I can't go to big enough tournaments. This event was won by Yunari with Ben Jones.
Mm-hmm.
And Ben's list.
You will like his list.
Okay. It is an Autarch, a Farseer, and an Incarn. I like it so far. Mm-hmm. And a Warlock. It's 2 units of 5 Rangers, 2 big units of troops, 2 units of Howling Banshees, 1 unit of Striking Scorpions, 2 War Warlocks, 3 Skyweavers, 5 Swooping Hawks, and 2 units of 3D Cannons. Mm-hmm. Ben, I hope that you're a fan of the show because this is so incredibly close to my list that I'm going to be disappointed if you're not.
I would say, Ben, try some Shroud Runners.
Oh, yeah. Try the Shroud Runners, Ben.
Like, they're everything you want those Swooping Hawks to do, except like they actually can kill things.
Do you think there's any chance that Ben copied my list?
I think Ben is in Vanguard Tactics, so he probably has access to good information above and beyond the wonderful things you can get from the Best in Tabletop Network. Which is just truly so
close to what I play, though, and I want to know that I affected someone.
I think that the amount of advocacy that you and I have done for this particular type, this archetype, has seeped out, and whether we are 1, 2, or 3 degrees of Kevin Bacon away from influencing Ben's list, I think we can take some credit for the genesis of this idea.
Okay, fair enough. Second place is Stephen Box, also from Vanguard Tactics, in case you live under a rock. Stephen Box had an Emperor's Children list, Demon Prince with Wings, Dark Apostle Lucius. That's very common. That's the start of almost all these lists. He has one unit of Legionnaires to stand on things, probably. And then 5 units of the Noise Marines, the way I described them earlier. 1 big unit of Chaos Terminators, a Master of Executions, 5 Warp Talons, 2 Rhinos. So pretty standard, but the Rhinos are a little different from what we've been seeing. Third place is Sam Nash. Sam was rocking some House Tyrannus. His first unit has 3 Helverins. Second unit has 3 Warglaives. Third unit has 3 Warglaives with Meltas. The second one has heavy Cognos heavy stubbers. So he's got a lot of the variety here on shooting. And then he has a Knight Errant and a Knight Morax. 1 lightning lock. Just like, boop. One lightning lock. All right, that was Sam Nash. I'll probably stop it there so we can get time for Billy to talk about his tournaments. But Liam Callabout got 4th with Chaos Space Marines, and Joshua Cowlard with Orks in 5th. The rise of Orks has begun. I'm just going to quickly look to see if this is the same thing. Almost very, very similar to what Ben won with, only there is a Wazbomb in this list. Oh, and a Beast Boss on Squigosaur, which is one of my favorite models in 40K.
I do like that guy. Yeah, he's really cool.
Fictitiously Famous says, as much as I jump around to 50 different podcasts, the Hank's Corner Nightlet episode is basically what I'm taking to Kansas City. Wonderful. That makes me really happy. Thank you for sharing that. Billy.
Yes. Next, we have the Breaking Heads Cup number 3. Because Breaking Heads was so much fun the first 2 times, they decided to do it a third. This was in Berlin, Germany. 50 players, 5 rounds. Won by just the wonderfully named Malte Hoffs. If his last name was spelled with a P instead of an F, I would guess that this was actually a joke name, and he was referencing beer, like Maltops. But just well done. Malte, he did it with Emperor's Children. The thing that he did that I actually saw in quite a few of the other chaos lists I'm going to talk about had 2 of the Mortal Wound Decimators.
Okay.
I think
what kind of chaos was he?
Oh, he was Emperor's Children.
Okay.
Most of the top performers that I had were Emperor's Children. All of the rest of the standard stuff you want, but those 2 Soulburner Petard Decimators, which have you ever played against those?
Yeah, they're all right.
I've only played against them with like hyper elite Marine armies, and boy, are those unpleasant to go against there.
What if we call him the Hoff?
I think we can totally get away with that.
Yeah.
Hasselhoff
is also really big there, so he might think that that's a compliment.
That was largely where my thinking.
I don't know if Hasselhoff is still big in Germany. He was big in Germany for a long time. Someone give us an update. We need a German correspondent to tell us your feelings on Hasselhoff currently. Please continue, Billy.
All right. Going a little bit more quickly, we had Alexander Tepe with Blood Angels. Exactly what you would expect in that list. Manuel Wixorek. That's my best attempt. I apologize. He was Bloody Rose Sisters. No Retributors, had an Armature. There was Valentine Schefter with Inari, but the more scoring points version of it. So like 2 Falcons and the Webway. I don't remember if he had a Webway Gate specifically, but he had Baroth and all the stuff that scores a lot of points, but doesn't kill your opponent. So it probably is, whether it's better or not, it's certainly not the way I see the army be played. I think it might be better, but that's a whole other conversation. And then 5th place, oh boy, Caillou Orellana, I think, with Leviathan Nids. He had some Raveners. That was fun.
Well, Raveners are great.
Yeah. Then there was the Come the Apocalypse GT in Dothan, Alabama. 40 players, 5 rounds. This one was won by Jace Ackerman with all of the bullets Tau. 3 Triptide, Trip Hammerhead, 2 units of 3 suits, bodyguards, and some commanders.
I'm surprised all of that fits, honestly.
He had nothing else.
Yeah.
Planes
is a weird decision. They're
so
good.
Sure. But this is one of those, I'll score points when you're dead kind of armies, and boy, will you be dead.
Yeah.
We had a Leagues of Votan in 2nd place.
Oh.
This is I want to call this the 7 special, because it's what's in the box is what he got to take. You see the jump.
No, I understand the reference to 7, but what did he bring in a box? Like, I don't.
It's just what was in the army box. So it's 4 units of troops, 3 units of bikes and 2 characters. It's
right.
what was in the box.
Okay.
Anyway, so good job to you, Daniel Hesters. You made me think of 7, which honestly still freaks me out to this day.
Do you remember who the bad guy is in 7?
Well, Kevin Spacey.
Yeah, which is Usual Suspects is my favorite movie.
It's a wonderful
I understand that Kevin Spacey's not a good person, but he made some movies I really like.
Yes, he is one of those guys. He's one of those figures for whom I really have to disaggregate himself from his art, because I love his art and he is a despicable human being.
Yeah.
So Daniel Hester's What's in the Box.
But so is Louis C.K., and I have a hard time not quoting Louis C.K. because of how many jokes he's made that just tickle me forever.
As we find out more and more about people who we used to love, we need to figure out how to do that. But I don't have a good answer.
Okay, fair enough.
Black Legion came in 3rd place. Stephen Mitchell, 4 and 2. This one also had 2 decimators. This is why I brought up decimators. Like almost every Chaos Marine list I list from here on out had decimators in it. Moving a little bit more quickly because we are running out of time. Ultramarines 4 and 1. It had all of the named dudes. Guy just likes his Ultramarines.
Wonderful.
And then 5 and 1, More Emperor's Children. This had 2 units of Last Cannon.
I'm sorry. Did everybody just take Emperor's Children? Is that what's happening?
There's a lot of Emperor's Children in my stuff. Yeah.
I just think it's weird because Bile was doing so well, and now it's like Bile has been lost, and everybody's playing Emperor's Children. It's just really, it's been a hard pivot the last few weeks that I don't understand.
Emperor's Children gives, lets you interact in a phase that
they're both good. They're both good. Yeah. I don't think one's better than the other.
Yeah.
Violence thinks that Emperor's Children is better.
I think Emperor's Children has more variety in the play possibilities it gives you. Bile is just go in the middle, and if you want to punch me, you lose. Emperor's Children can shoot you too.
Right.
And then finally, the Hardcore 40K Open in Putrajaya, Malaysia.
Ooh, Putrajaya.
Yes. This one was here's where it was. Putrajaya Wilayah Persekutuan Putrajaya, Malaysia. Just absolutely delightful place names that you get to see in 40K. This one was won by Joe Soon with Tyranids. 9 by Levy Warriors list, 9 and 3 Warriors, 1/1 of Carnifexes. Joe, I hope you enjoy iterating on that list because you'll have to. Second place, and this one McWorp from the Discord asked me to specifically shout out because this is his friend. So Kian Tan won with Valorous Heart Sisters, 9 Nundums and 8 Mortifiers.
Wow. Okay. That's different.
5 and 0 as well. So just lost on battle points here.
Man, does that list not want to see anything that's anti-vehicle?
That's very true, but if you don't have if you don't have Melta, that's going to be a pain to deal with.
Yeah, you're right. It's yeah. Mm-hmm. I myself would charge it, but I'm with you.
For sure, with Banshee masks, which help with the charges.
Yeah, because otherwise the mortifiers will just wreck you.
Yes.
How many attacks do these 3 mortifiers have? 700. Oh, okay.
Yeah, with exploding 6s.
I think they have 18 each. I think is what it is.
Do they actually? They have 6 that triple?
Yeah, I think that's right.
Uh-huh. Yeah, sounds unpleasant. Banshee masks are wonderful tools. Third place was Yon Qing Ong, I believe, with Necrons. He had a Nightbringer. That's the fun thing in his list. We have Ko Yao Dong with Nids, Leviathan, 20 Warriors and 4 units, 2 Tyrannifexes. Again, good luck iterating on your list. And then Bloody Rose Sisters, Victor Ko, 3s of Repentia, 3s of Zephyr, 3s of Retributors.
I've decided to take 3 of each thing that's good. Okay, good.
Yeah, that to our point of the meta has sort of gotten to a solved point. Very few of these lists have new pieces. The Decimators are a fun and interesting spot, but that's really the only new unit. So as much as anything, that's why I'm excited to see what Dwarves and then Guard can do to shake things up.
Yeah, for sure. Are you done?
Those are unless. Well, I do just want to mention the one event that missed the cut because I'm still a 13-year-old boy at heart was Wienermeist.
Wienermeist?
Wienermeist.
I don't know what that
Austria.
means.
I'm not sure what Meist is, but here's something that I learned late in life and kind of took some of the fun out of it, but also I think is interesting. Wiener Schnitzel it's not a reference to male anatomy. It's just that's how Austrians refer to Vienna, is Wien. So it's Schnitzel from Vienna.
That's really sad. You've dashed just a bit of my hopes today, Billy.
But I've educated you and made you a more cultured and interesting person as a result.
No.
I tried.
I am no more interesting than I was before. But I was very interesting previously.
Yeah, I was going to say you can't add on top of an infinity and get anything other than.
Oh, I'm not infinity interesting. That's not reasonable.
To everyone listening to this, you are.
Okay. Chris Modica says Wienermeist right there.
That was the event.
Okay, Wienermeist. All right, well, 1 minute left. What do you want to talk about?
What else can people look forward to on the Best in Tabletop Network this week?
More bit reps are coming out. The Gene Stealer Cult versus next up should be Gene Stealer Cult versus Tzeentch Demons, because I already did the commentary for it.
Fun.
It's a really good game. It's really good, and Chuck complained that sometimes my bit reps don't go to turn 5. This one goes to turn 5.
Oh, good.
So yeah, that was really good. I'm trying to find some games to play this week that are interesting. I want to get some new stuff on the table. I would love to get some Votan if I can. So yeah, working on that. Biff Pod was Sunday, and we talked about Chuck's undefeated run with Tzeentch Demons, which was very unexpected for everyone, including Chuck. We also talked a little bit about the data slate and some other topics. That was Sunday. TNG covered Naj winning that event, that 50-person event with his Necrons. They covered that on Saturday while Bortel was at SoCal. Frontiers is back this week. I think that's it. Yeah, I think that's it. So, right. Well, everybody, we're out of time, and Billy and I have to go do our day jobs now, which is not as exciting as talking to you guys about 40K. So for the show that is neither grim nor dark, and for Billy, the exposition daddy, man, I love that too much. I just couldn't stop giggling. Billy is the exposition daddy. I'm Colin because someone has to be. And we'll be back at you guys next week at 7 a.m. Pacific time. Thank you, everybody. Bye now.
Bye.